seen things good people wouldn't believe.
It has already begun. The battle for supremacy in 2023. Samsung S95c OLED versus the LG G3 WRGB OLED with MLA technology. Who will win for the crown of TV King in 2023? There can be only one. Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Brian. This is Tech Therapy. Thank you so much for watching. I spent the entire weekend with the brand new S95c QD-OLED as well as the brand new G3 WRGB OLED with MLA technology. Both these TVs are calibrated. Spent the weekend at Value Electronics, streamed over 18 hours with both these TVs, and that was not even half the time I spent with them together from Friday through the end of Sunday. I also spent the entire week with the G3 and was blown away by both. Special thanks to Value Electronics for giving us access to these TVs within their store. Please consider making your next AV purchase through them. Check the description below for all their information, and please consider making your next AV purchase through them. You are looking at the S95c on the left at 77 and the G3 at 65 inches. The reason for the size disparity is that the 77-inch G3 was held up in transit due to weather. It is there now at the store. However, the footage is captured and done. I'll get back there and compare them at the same size, but the 77 wasn't available at the time. Both are calibrated and were calibrated by John Reformato, who was also at our event this weekend at Value Electronics. Check out the description below for John's information as well as how he calibrated these TVs, as they are calibrated where I believe the G3's full tool set isn't available, but calibrating them as much as we could for this demonstration. Now, at the middle portion of this video, I will slide over to standard, dynamic, and vivid for those of you that want to see how these TVs pop outside of calibration, as the calibration is limited to the accurate presets. But we can agree that in these calibrated modes, both these TVs look absolutely stunning. They are so unbelievably close that it is staggering. When I tell you that I've never seen two TVs from two different technologies look so close, it's incredible. It's incredible that the color of the G3 has matched the QD-OLED. The saturation, there are times where it is more saturated than the Samsung S95c. Now, for me, the S95c is so much like the S95B before anything had been updated. It's still this absolute monster, but this time it's left to be itself, and it is amazing, especially in the gaming department, which I can discuss, but I didn't film, as the LG G3 has a bug presently locking me out of some of the presets. I'll wait till that is resolved before I show you that footage. But they both look incredible. I can't even say they traded shots or categories. It was scene by scene. We used the new Spears and Munsell calibration disc. We went through all that material. We went through YouTube TV. We went through HBO Max, all kinds of movies, and they were scene by scene. And many times it came down to brightness of image on one, depth on another, but then when you thought it would stay that way, it was brightness on the other and then depth on the other. It seems like at the end of the day, it comes down to processing. Not even which processing is better, but which processing you prefer on that scene. There were several scenes where the G3 had a better detail in different areas, and then there were several scenes where the Samsung had better detail on some clothing and other scenes. So we watched all kinds of content, but even in this calibrated mode and accurate modes that you see here, they still look so vibrant and so poppy. It's incredible how the G3 matches the color of the QD-OLED while still remaining a WRGB OLED. The micro lens array technology, the brightness there, the color luminance is really doing its job to match the quantum dot OLED. They're so close that at the end of it, it sounds ridiculous. At the first day, we had spent about 8-9 hours streaming. We also spent from early Friday all the way until late Sunday. So other than the, 16, 17 hour streaming, we had spent 3 solid days with the S95c and the LG G3. At the end of it, I had more questions than answers, because if I was in the market between these two, I would be utterly confused. It is so close between them. So ridiculously close between them, I really couldn't pick one that I preferred. And for you watching, the questions are always, which would I take? Now, I am at the 83-inch size, so I don't have a decision to make, as there is no 83-inch with MLA technology. I'll see the 83-inch G3 this weekend to see how it performs. There is no 83-inch QD-OLED, so I'll be sitting this session out. But seeing these two perform, I have to go with one or the other. And I was really leaning towards an 8K mini LED, but not after spending the weekend with these two doing battle, especially surrounded by other mini LEDs like the Z9K, 900B, the G2 OLED, as well as the 900C. After seeing these stand so far apart, it can be only these two, at least until the Sony A95L arrives this summer. Reflection handling, good on both, even though they are OLEDs. Samsung has that way of getting a bit brighter, meaning the screen changes color slightly when the sun is directly on it. But the sun has to be directly on it for that to happen as we slide over to the more saturated standard mode on both. The G3 has been reported to have a little bit of raising in blacks with the sun directly on it. Didn't really see that. Didn't have the sun baking on it. That's something I think you're going to have to see measured. Now we'll start here also with standard versus standard, where they handle it differently. Standard wasn't really even brighter than Cinema Home. So I will go into dynamic and vivid mode at the end of this demo, and they actually match up almost perfectly. Actually, standard for Samsung seemed brighter than their dynamic mode, and that matched up better with the dynamic mode of the G3. So it was interesting to try to get them to look the same. Those presets on both are very cool, so they will look very blue. Shadow detail was amazing on both of them. The Samsung does crush black slightly, maybe just a little bit, but not enough to really freak me out as we look at our good friend Jennifer Gala's content near the end of this video. I should say the middle point of this video. Both looked absolutely amazing, calibrated to where even going outside of calibration to show you these settings was absolutely not necessary, but I know certain people out there enjoy seeing these in different ways. And to be honest, the calibrated footage that I was recording was a lot of skiing, and in that white, they do record differently, meaning the QD-OLED had a reddish tint on it, and the WRGB OLED had a bluish tint on it. Not because they were flawed, it's just the way those two technologies look when they're filmed separately. Camera pushes different ways. And it's funny how they choose to look different. In the whites especially, that's a big thing that you see with these two different technologies. They do appear differently in the whites and light blues, except when colors are similar, as you'll see here, they look nearly identical. And most of the footage we showed this week looked identical in person. It really does come down to processing. There were times, as I mentioned, where the G3 looked more Samsung-ish than the Samsung, which is interesting because it made you realize how accurate the Samsung is. You'll see the nuclear green towards the end of the video that I love to show on Samsungs, but I was shocked at how amazingly close they were. The fact that the G3 had caught up to the QD-OLED in one generation is amazing. My hope, though, was that the G3 would surpass the S95c, and I can't really say that it did that. I can say that they actually tied. That's how close they were. Every moment I thought to myself, yeah, this is gonna pull away. It was a couple seconds before I was like, oh, no, but I like this scene better. Literally scene for scene, even in the same shows that we watched. God, Jennifer has amazing content. Check her out in the description, Jennifer Gala and HDR Super Channel. This also gets me very excited for what we're going to see from Sony, as they're going to have quite a few months, or at least another 3 or 4 months, to figure out how they're going to approach this. But the only battle to watch, guys, is that these three go at it. Everything else is the battle for 4th and 5th. What I love about the technology from both is the ability to look accurate, then the ability to look saturated and dynamic. They really are the LED OLEDs we've all been waiting for. What I mean by that is when I saw the gaming footage of the S95c, when I saw how saturated and sharp it looked, and seeing it compared to the LEDs in the room, you realize that the QD-OLED was brighter. It wasn't a perceptual brightness, it was actually brighter, and I never thought I'd ever see that or say that. G3 as well. And with the contrast ratio and micro contrast ratio of OLEDs, there really is no beating them. The differences you'll see are saturation and then detail. There are times, again, where you'll see much more detail on one and then detail on the other. However, your face is to the screen to try and see it. What are your thoughts? Who are you pulling for? Because that's really what this is going to come down to. At the end of this video and at 12 or 13 minutes in, here's my advice on which you should choose. One, I have no skin in the game. I don't care who wins. I have no fan favorite. But I have to almost give you the very generic answer. It really depends on which manufacturer you like. All three have different... Oh, I love that Samsung green one, vivid. Anyway, it all depends on which you prefer. All three TVs, when you see the Sony come out as well, have their own signature and their own preference, whether it's accuracy or detail, and you'll have to see all three to make your decision. That's how close they are. Now they all have gaming features, so they've all, at least the two Samsung and LG, have always had gaming and have always led the league in gaming. Now Sony will have that too. So little things like the remote, little things like the operating system. Do you like Tizen? Do you like the operating system on LG? Do you like the sound of the panels? Things that typically come last for me aesthetically. Do you like the sleeker QD-OLED? Very thin. Or do you like the shinier, more premium looking G3? Is the lack of stand something you have to take in account for? Does that make up for a price difference? So the little things that I typically don't even care about do matter now. That's how close the image is. That's how happy I think you'll be with either one of these. As I mentioned, there was a gaming bug with the G3 where I was only limited to, no matter what I did, to the one standard preset. I couldn't jump into RPG, FPS, or any of those. Now, those were available when I unboxed the G3 a few weeks ago, So I imagine it's a bug. I saw it on both units. I'm sure they'll take care of it, but I don't want to match gaming up with gaming because the presets didn't match. So I'll have to go back and shoot that. But at this moment, I would give Samsung the edge in gaming for just having more presets, 144 hertz, ultra widescreen support, I believe. So right now, they have the edge. We'll see if LG can fix that bug. Wow, they look incredible. Now you can see in the whites though, the Samsung pushing that pink. That is just the way the panel looks on camera, and the coolness of the WRGB OLED LG will always look that way. Screen uniformity. I didn't notice much banding on either one, but there was very little banding at all on the Samsung and very, very slight at all on the G3. In one very challenging game, I could see some slight banding, but I've seen banding on every TV with that game. Off angle, I had to go totally to the side to see any kind of pink halo on the G3, and even then it was very faint and never saw it once in content. I literally had to be almost behind the TV. So amazing viewing angles on both. The brightness differences I think that you would see on the Samsung would easily be equaled out if the TV was 77 inches on the G3, simply because the size gives a perception of being brighter. But seeing them both calibrated and then seeing them left off their chain, they really are stunning. And I really wouldn't know if I was in your guys' shoes, whether it's 55, 65, or 77, which I would choose. I would really struggle, and I'm glad I don't have to make that decision. But ultimately, it'll come down to things that are ridiculous, like the remote. Not a fan of Samsung's small remote. I could not stand double-clicking into everything. All they need is an input button, and they're good to go. Let me know what you guys think. I was blown away by it. This is one of many comparisons we're going to see throughout the year. LG only typically improves their quality of image and operating system through their updates. We know Samsung is quite the opposite. Let's hope Samsung leaves this beast alone. And even hearing that HGIG was broken, perhaps it's a tad brighter in gaming. It still looked incredible, so I wouldn't worry about it being broken. You're clicking a few more higher in the PS5 menu, but otherwise it looked stunning. And you can make the game mode on the Samsung look every which way but loose. I loved it. But no matter how bright the TVs are in the room, when you see these on, even in a bright room, they still look brighter. That is not something that I expected when I saw them all side by side. Now you'll see these two TVs go against the other TVs in the room down the road, whether it's a Z2, the 900C, which I'll be doing more footage on. That has a filmmaker bug that has to be rectified before I bring you more of that footage. Then you'll see it compared. But these look incredible. Now we actually did have some footage of it compared to the 8K 900C. And interestingly enough, the S95c was brighter in almost every way. But I do fully believe that is Samsung's way of limiting the blooming, which the 900C did an amazing job of. But the fact that the S95c was brighter was stunning to me, which also meant the G3 was brighter as well. What do you guys think about the journey of these two TVs? The S95 did not have the element of surprise this year. It did drop early. It was a surprise drop. G3 had plenty of time. This is fight camp. This is gamemanship from these manufacturers. How do you think they did? They will both hopefully improve. The engineers are listening, but they don't have much to do, as they're both absolutely stunning. Which would you choose by seeing the calibrated portion and as well as the more let loose portion? Special thanks to Value Electronics and John Reformato. They look unbelievable. I was very happy to spend time with them, but when I left, all I could say is choose the one you like, by the remote, by the stand, by the operating system, by the aesthetics, because they are that close and they are that amazing. Which one do you favor? Which one would you go with? I will see you in the comments. Please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Love you guys.
It's better to burn